What's up, everybody?
Welcome back to Mile Higher Podcast, episode 192. Today we are doing one of our favorite types of podcasts. Is this one of your favorites? It's mine.
Yeah, I love to dive into multiple things sometimes.
I do too.
'Cause sometimes it's like, I like to focus and deep dive one topic, but
I do too.
I like to switch it up and kind of like go through a couple different things.
It's very good for my ADHD brain. I like the constant change.
I feel like a lot of people like it like that too.
Yeah.
Where it's like, get to learn multiple things about multiple topics.
Mm-hmm. Our attention spans are pretty weak these days, you know?
I know, right?
So today we are doing one of our Unexplained Phenomena episodes. And if you've never seen one of these, you're in for a treat. We go over a bunch of different topics, and the things that we have to talk about today are wild. And a lot of them I bet you guys have not heard of. We're going to be going over everything from something called Jello rain to the Alaskan Bermuda Triangle, the Phoenix Lights, which we've touched on here and there, but we're going to kind of look at it again today, and some others. So It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I think this is we were starting to do like Unexplained Phenomena part 1, part 2, and I think this is like part 7.
I think
we have a lot of these types of episodes out there. And we actually have them all in one playlist too, I think, if you're watching on YouTube, which is kind of convenient. But I know it's getting harder and harder to find unexplained phenomena we haven't talked about and stories and just unsolved mysteries.
Eventually.
Yeah, I know we're going to hit all of them. So on that note, though, if you do know of some unexplained phenomena or mysteries we haven't covered, we do have a form in our description and show notes that you can go to, and you can actually, send in topic suggestions and, anything you would like to see covered on the podcast. So just thought I'd put that out there because I don't know if everybody knows that or not. Before we get into the episode, I did want to just make a quick note about merch because we've been getting a lot of tweets and sort of just people asking where'd the merch site go. And I know it just kind of disappeared. And the reason for this is because we worked with a third party sort of supplier that ran all of that for us. And we've since left that agreement with them. And so we're bringing the merch sort of back in the house where we're running it ourselves since we have Higher Love now. We have the warehouse and everything, so we can do it all ourselves. So right now we're just waiting to get sort of the new site built out, and we're waiting for our existing inventory that was up on the shop to arrive in our warehouse so we can then get it back up for you guys. Because I know it's been a little while since it's been down. So
and we are in the process of revamping the merch as well, working on some new collections, and taking it back into our own hands so we can really
take it a mile higher.
That's right, baby. But are you ready to get into this?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and dive right into it. This episode of Mile Higher is brought to you by Simply Safe, Upstart, Fuzzy, HelloFresh, and Native. But let's begin by talking about this Jello rain.
All right, so we are starting off today here in Oakville, Washington, which is a tiny rural town just southwest of Seattle. It used to be known for its booming lumber industry. That is until a bizarre event left some residents sick and searching for answers. Around 3 a.m. on August 7th, 1994, clouds started to form around Oakville and rain began to fall. Rain is nothing new for Washington, of course. It's famous for being one of the rainiest states in the country. But this rain was anything but ordinary. A local police officer named David Lacey was on patrol that night with one of his civilian friends. And as they drove around the town in the squad car, David put his windshield wipers on to clear off the rain. But these raindrops did not wash off. They were gooey and they started smearing against the windshield, coating it to the point where David had to pull over at a gas station. He hopped out of the patrol car and put on some latex gloves to investigate this strange substance. Something did not seem right. He wiped off some of the goo on the windshield, and he noticed that it had a gelatinous consistency. It was mushy, and he could squish the substance in his hand like some Jell-O.
Meanwhile, local residents noticed a strange blob rain elsewhere around town. Dottie Hearn and her daughter Sunny stepped outside her home after the rain fell and tried to examine it for themselves. The blobs were small, roughly about the size of half a grain of rice, and they looked like hailstones. But they all had the same bizarre gooey texture to them. And this goo that was raining down from the sky blanketed a 20 square mile area of Oakville, Washington. And nobody had any idea what this strange goo was. But things started to get even weirder by that afternoon. A few hours after Dottie came into contact with the goo, she started to feel very dizzy and nauseous. Only an hour after she started to feel sick, Sunny found her sprawled out on the bathroom floor. Dottie was still conscious, but she was drenched in sweat, pale, and cold to the touch, and her symptoms were so severe that she had to be hospitalized for 4 days. Meanwhile, Sunny and one of her friends started to feel sick after they touched the blobs. Their symptoms weren't as bad as Dottie's, but they also felt fatigued and nauseous. And even though David touched the substance with gloves on, unlike many residents who handled it with their bare hands, he became incredibly sick by that afternoon. Dottie's doctor didn't think that the blobs were the reason why she was sick, but he definitely thought the blobs were strange. But he attributed Dottie's symptoms to an inner ear condition, and he just was, thinking that maybe the blobs were just a freak coincidence. But Sunny and her mother weren't convinced, as Dottie had a fever and signs of infection which didn't match up with the ear condition the doctor diagnosed her with. Not only that, but the specific condition usually manifests as a chronic health issue with recurring episodes. But Dottie made a full recovery after coming home and didn't have those symptoms again. Then Sunny's cat got sick and died 3 days after it came into contact with the rain. Dottie collected a sample of the blobs and brought them to the hospital, and a lab technician examined the sample and was absolutely baffled at what she saw. The sample looked like it contained human white blood cells, but she couldn't identify the substance or where it came from.
So this mysterious blob rain fell over Oakville again one day. Then it fell again and again, and over the course of 3 weeks, 6 jello storms coated the town. More and more residents became violently ill after coming in contact with this gooey blob rain. They had severe symptoms like nausea, extreme vertigo, blurred vision, and difficulty breathing. One resident reported that the townspeople all suffered from flu-like illness that lasted for 2 to 3 months after the incidents. And several other cats and dogs died after they came into contact with this mysterious rain, including more of Sunny's barn cats. Dottie's dogs suffered from nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea 3 weeks after the rain started, and the vet diagnosed them with an infection and gave them some antibiotics.
I'd be worried about that too. Our dogs Oakley would totally go out there and start eating that and licking it up.
Oh yeah. We don't really get rain here, but when it snows, Oakley eats it.
I know. Now it's making me think, what's in the snow outside?
Oh, I know.
Like what kind of chemicals are in our snow?
You never know. Well, it's definitely picking up like all the pollution and just crap in the air.
I'm sure
who
it's
knows?
not
It could be worse than that.
super pure.
Sunny decided to take another look at the sample of the blobs and store them in her freezer in case she needed to send them out to a lab. And 6 weeks after the first rain, she came down with a severe case of bronchitis. Sunny sent the sample to the Department of Health, and a microbiologist there named Mike McDowell analyzed the sample. And he noted that this sample was full of 2 species of bacteria.
The first bacteria, which I'm about to try to pronounce correctly, is Enterobacterocloacae.
No, not even close.
Enterobacterocloacae.
It ends in an R.
Enterobacterocloacae. Oh my God. Enterobacter.
That's not what he said the first time.
Cloacae.
Cloacae.
Oh my God.
Whatever this bacteria is commonly found in the digestive system of many people, and certain strains of the bacteria may cause urinary or respiratory tract infections in people with compromised immune systems. The second bacteria,
this will be fun.
Oh boy, Pseudomonas fluorescens.
No, it's definitely Pseudomonas.
Sorry, let me try that again. It's Pseudomonas fluorescens. Pseudomonas.
That's good to know.
Fluorescens. This can be found in water and soil. It's a pretty uncommon source of infection and usually only affects some immunocompromised people. Mike continued to research the sample and concluded that the gel was actually a man-made matrix, is what he called it. And this meant that it was a substance created to house or transport the bacteria. Mike reported his findings to his supervisor, but when he came back to the lab later, surprise, surprise, the substance was missing.
Dun, dun, dun.
I smell a conspiracy. But Mike reported this to his supervisor, and the supervisor allegedly told him to stop asking questions. And in his over 30 years of working there, Mike had never had a sample go missing until that one. if that's not sketch, I don't know what is. Sunny decided to send the sample she froze in her freezer to a scientist at the Department of Ecology. And that scientist reported that the sample contained cells without nuclei, which would mean that they weren't actually white blood cells. She also sent a sample to a private lab called Amtest Laboratories. And the scientist who analyzed that sample believed that he saw a eukaryotic cell, which is a name for any animal cell that has a nucleus. So it's not fully clear then what exactly the organisms were, or really how they came to be. At first, some people speculated that the blobs were human waste dumped by a commercial airline mid-flight, which I don't think they do that, because that would be a major problem.
They absolutely do not do that. Can you imagine? You're just like outside and then they're just dumping shit out of the plane.
Yeah.
No.
Our house would probably get rained down on quite a bit because they fly like right over us to get to DIA.
Well, planes fly over
everywhere. So yeah, that's true. Good
Wow.
No, I'm just saying though, I mean, if a plane were to drop waste at 35,000 feet versus say 10,000 feet, more of that's going to hit the ground. And
well, it's all going to hit the ground.
Well,
it's going to be more dispersed probably. I don't know why we're talking about this.
Ew.
Which, if this were the case, though, it might explain why people got so sick and why lab techs found digestive bacteria and cells in the samples. However, the FAA strictly forbids pilots from emptying human waste mid-flight for obvious reasons. The waste from the planes is actually known as blue ice because it's dyed blue, but the blob rain was translucent and colorless, so this theory is pretty much ruled out. A popular theory in Oakville at the time was that the rain was bits of jellyfish. During 1994, the Air Force was regularly dropping live bombs into the ocean about 20 miles off the coast of Washington, and the townspeople theorized that the bombs exploded into giant schools of jellyfish, and little bits of these jellies are getting blown out of the water, evaporated up into the sky, where it's then made into jellyfish clouds.
That's a bizarre theory,
and
honestly.
rained down later. I mean, I guess if the substance looks like a jellyfish, I guess you might think maybe. And they're on the coast.
Well, wouldn't other stuff rain down with it? Is just the jellyfish that?
Well, there'll probably be fish particles. Throw some seaweed in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Just the jellies get blown out of the water.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So clearly,
this theory's not confirmed.
Yeah, no shit.
And Sunny thinks it's not the cause of the rain. She believes that the U.S. military rained the blobs over Oakville as some sort of covert testing, which honestly, that's kind of what I think too, is that this is some sort of like geoengineering military test of some sort. Also, if this actually kind of helps that theory, multiple Oakville residents reported that they saw slow-moving military aircraft in the sky almost every day before the rain started. So some people have theorized that the military was secretly testing some sort of biological weapon on the town of Oakville.
Well, you want to believe that kind of stuff doesn't happen, but reality is...
You never know.
Yeah.
We don't know what the military is doing.
We really don't. Of course, the U.S. military denies that they have anything to do with the Jello rain. But the government isn't exactly a stranger to conducting strange, unethical tests on unwilling citizens.
Yep. Agent Orange, if you remember that. There's a lot of others too.
Subway testing, Operation Lack. There's quite a few things. So some people have theorized that the rain was slime mold or star jelly that was dispersed by a storm. Slime molds are a naturally occurring group of single-celled organisms that usually appear on dead plants or rotting wood. Slime mold was sometimes called star jelly in medieval folklore because it was believed that the jelly fell from the stars after a meteor shower. Star jelly might also refer to the similar-looking frog vomit. Of course, some people theorize that the people in the town were just sick by coincidence. I mean, it's not uncommon for many people in a town to be sick at the same time. The illness correlates with the blob rain, but it's never been conclusively proven that the blobs caused the illness. Whether or not people in Oakville actually got sick at all has been debated online. And to this day, the Oakville Blobs have never been identified, and it's still unknown where they came from. The Washington Department of Health apparently has no records of the blob-rained samples anymore. Of course, how convenient. There are no samples of the blob rain left in existence, so the Oakville Jello rain may forever remain a mystery. Also, it's important to note there are no photos of this blob rain on the internet at all. Any photo that someone has claimed is the Oakville blob rain is either a hoax or meant to represent what they looked like.
That's fishy to me. The fact that there's no samples and they never conclusively figured out what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes me believe that this is some type of conspiracy cover up with the military and they were testing out something. Because, I mean, they are testing geoengineering and weather manipulation, things like that. Those are things that are obviously, think about it. I mean, if you could control the weather and make this type of rain down on your enemies and they all get sick and die, I mean, that's a great military weapon. So why wouldn't they be testing something like this? And
plus, it would be a huge coincidence for the planes to have just been there at the same time.
Right.
All the military
that's
craft.
So weird to me.
Yeah, it's very strange.
That there was military flying overhead days in advance. It's almost like they were prepping. Or
if any of you out in Washington have heard of this, is this something that people talk about,
probably
commonly? I mean, I had never heard of this.
But I see why the jellyfish theory came into question, because they're really only maybe like 2 hours from the ocean.
I know, but that
makes
no fucking sense.
Then there'd be like,
let's be real.
I mean, we've had fish rain before, so there would be other things like you said.
Yeah,
maybe.
even if it was just the jellies coming down, if that was real, it would have some other things in the substance. It wouldn't just have been this clear material.
Well, we don't have any official pictures of it, so we don't know exactly what.
I know, but no one described it. Everyone just said it was clear and
translucent. Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
I do not think it was jellyfish. That makes no sense. They just
what do you think it was?
Exploded into the sky and stayed there until it rained, and then they came down. Like, absolutely not. I think it's something military.
You think this is like a man-made situation?
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I don't know if it was on purpose. It could just be some type of pollutant or accidental.
What I think is that they were in the days prior, they were probably up there seeding the clouds with whatever this substance is.
Well, yeah, that's what they seem to be implying by the planes flying through right before the rainstorms.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, what do those people have to lose by talking about this? Multiple people are saying the same thing.
True.
And just having those video interviews is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this phenomenon made unsolved mysteries.
Yeah.
So it was obviously big enough that it made the local news and got picked up.
So weird. I literally had never heard of it before now.
Yeah, it's really weird.
What do you think, Janelle?
I'm skeptical because there's no pictures.
Well,
so you don't think it existed at all? You think they're just...
I'm not saying that necessarily. I believe that 100%, but I'm definitely a little like, that's what's weird to me. There's no pictures.
It is weird.
I don't care that if it was military operated. There's pictures of UFO crashes out. I mean, it's not like the military or the government can scour the internet and make sure there's no picture of the blob rain.
Yeah, and from the 90s too. That is a good point. So you question whether or not it even exists.
I do.
Or it even happened.
I do question.
I mean, I think they could absolutely, scrub it. There probably wasn't that many pictures in the first place. First of all, this was back quite a time ago. So,
but no one's got a print out picture.
Right. Come on. No one.
It is kind of weird.
What a weird phenomenon. No one has a picture.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there is a question of whether or not this rain even happened at all.
Maybe it was just snow. I'm just kidding.
If it did happen, what would you think caused it?
Oh, probably some type of conspiracy, or like the government
testing something.
It could be a natural phenomenon, though. Weird shit happens all the time. That is Mother Nature.
But wouldn't there be a case of it happening somewhere else in the world at some point?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it could have been some weird conditions that day that's only ever been experienced in that one place.
Why are there not pictures of it?
Because people did not have
a weird history
Snapchat and Instagram.
Of course not, but it was 1994. It wasn't
they had cameras.
Yeah, but what are they supposed to do? Go get their disposable camera and hope they have some film?
If my parents were in that shit, they'd grab their camera and take a picture.
Yeah, mine definitely would. They had video cameras too.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't they get some home vids?
Right.
Check out this weird shit in my grass.
Probably because
that's a good point.
It could be because they were all silenced and everything was taken from them. If that was posted, or it's just been lost to time.
Possible. I don't know though. I don't know. Yeah, the picture thing, you're kind of getting me with that, Janelle. That's if it is real though.
So this is like mass hysteria over blob rain. So all these people we just watched talking about this.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, what do those people have to lose by talking about it?
What are they reacting to then?
I mean,
they just came to town. They're like, all right, we want you to pretend like this.
No.
jelly rain fell and think it's jellyfish blown into the atmosphere. Like, what? That doesn't make, see, that doesn't, when people come forward and they give eyewitness testimony, obviously it's not, well, don't get me started on this again, but it's not like physical concrete proof. But I'm just saying that, like, I take their word for it. And there's multiple people that experience the same thing. And obviously there's mass hysteria. There's cases in history where everybody kind of loses it and whatever. But I'm like,
why would they get together and be like, all right, guys, we're going to lie and trick the country into thinking we found jelly rain?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would they do that?
We mentioned at least 5 or 6 people in this story that all had experiences with it, touched it, got sick from it. Police officer to family member. I mean, multiple people.
There's just no proof that it even happened. There's no proof that they even got sick. These days,
we got to have a freaking picture or a video to believe.
Well, I mean, we have pictures of fucking everything that's real. So when you don't have pictures, sometimes you got to wonder.
If you have pictures of stuff, pictures can be manipulated, edited. You can put filters on it. I mean, that's the thing is, it's like, does having a picture or video footage make it real?
No, but it makes it a little more.
It helps. It helps your brain process.
Makes it easier to believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I personally, I think that this probably did happen.
Yeah, I'm not 100% convinced.
People, yeah, just questioning all sides here. You
That's
know,
all.
Could be some bullshit.
Excellent.
Could have been.
Boy, Josh
they all got together. The townspeople got together and they said, "Let's form a lie."
No, but what if it's the classic? Someone said it, and then those people want to fit in. They're like, "Oh yeah, I think I saw that too, and I can get on the news." Like, people want to feel important. People want to feel included.
That's a good point, Janelle. That does happen.
I mean, come on.
They want to feel included by
Absolutely.
going along with a nutty thing.
Yes.
Oh, that happens all the time.
No, I know, but
people want to feel included, so they admit to murders they didn't commit, so they can feel part of the story.
You think they wouldn't be like, "Yeah, I saw some weird rain." I don't know.
People do weird shit. I mean, I see both sides of the argument here, guys. I don't know. I think it could exist. And if it did, I think it's something conspiratorial. That's all I'll say.
I agree.
All right. Excellent.
All right, let's move on. This one, okay, I am so excited to talk about this weird shit. If you thought that the Jello rain was weird, this is strange.
I didn't even know about this till we started.
This is just creepy, like nightmarish.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I do not like.
Yeah, so from 1987 to 1988, ABC aired the American spinoff of a satirical sci-fi TV show called Max Headroom. The show took place in a dystopian future where a small group of TV executives rule the world, and it featured the fictional character Max Headroom, who is a witty AI-generated TV reporter with a voice that stuttered and changed pitch. The character kind of became a pop culture celebrity in the late 80s, and it was featured in books, TV shows, and even commercials. Even did in like a Coke commercial, which is interesting.
I want to know if any of you out there who were around in the 80s.
You remember this? Seeing this on
Max.
TV?
Yeah. I want to ask my parents.
Yeah, we'll have to ask them tonight. But we'll show you a clip of Max Headroom for some context. It's pretty weird.
And here's how it works. I'm going to ask you 4 questions about the film you've just seen. 4 questions. They're not difficult, but being able to count to 4 helps. Ready? Good. During one of my early broadcasts in the film, I made a little joke about That's been very lucky for me. I said, sorry. I said, okay, now for the prizes. Oh, or if you feel really silly, you can roll them up and make rude noises down them. Cotton. 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 Wonderful to wear. Just don't leave the label sticking out. Oh, look at that. You cannot beat that for a first prize. Well, you can't, but I can. Good luck, and see you in London. Ha!
That feels like a fucking bad drug trip.
Seriously, it like gives me chills. Like it'd be something someone would play if you were kidnapped and like stuck in a room. And
I know who would play that character in a live action movie.
Who?
Jim Carrey.
I was about to say,
fucking
Jim.
That was like
Definitely
Jim Carrey
Jim.
energy,
100%.
hardcore. Like that was
like The Mask.
That really was. Yeah, it is very mask-like.
What the hell though? Like so weird.
I wonder if it was kind of inspired by Jim back then.
In the 1980s? I mean, Jim was...
I mean, he was around.
Yeah, he was. That was when his career was sort of starting, so maybe it was based off him.
Living Color, I think, was on. When did Living Color come on?
Was he? Oh yeah, he was on Living Color, wasn't he?
Yeah, of course he was.
1990.
Oh, that was 1990.
So this was kind of like.
It's kind of like. I mean, Jim was around, but I don't think. Yeah,
it wasn't
maybe
like
not.
he was a prominent.
It is very Jim-like though. It's weird, very creepy.
So a few weeks after the show was canceled, Max Headroom made the most infamous cameo to date. On November 22nd, 1987, the Chicago area TV station WGN-TV was broadcasting their 9 p.m. news coverage when there was a strange interruption during the sports segment. Viewers were enjoying a report of that day's Bears game when their screens went black for 15 seconds. And then all of a sudden, footage of a man dressed like Max Headroom flashed on their screens. And the man rocked back and forth while a metal panel spun around behind him. And the broadcast lasted for 28 seconds before someone at WGN switched the frequency they were broadcasting the show from. And viewers' TVs went dark again for a few seconds before the sports anchor flashed back on the screen.
Imagine if you're like at home watching that. Maybe it's raining out, it's dark, and then that shit just comes on and you're alone. Oh, that would be so freaky.
Let's play the clip of the intrusion.
Okay.
McMahon and McKinnon, 14-0 Bears. Then the defense, which hadn't put up a sack in 12 quarters, finally did.
What the hell?
By work. Who turned the damn TV off?
Watching the Bears.
That is so fucked.
Imagine being this guy.
Oh, I gotta hate that.
The sound is so eerie. I'm getting chills.
Just for like.
So like the people know, like, holy shit, who's this guy?
Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I. Actually, the computer that we have running our news from time to time took off and went wild. So what we're going to do is start over from the top of the Bears.
The computer took off and went wild.
We'll start over from the top.
What in the fuck?
Whoopsie.
You're wondering what's happened. So am I. That's so funny. WGN broadcasted their programming by sending their audio and video feeds via microwaves to a separate broadcast tower on top of the John Hancock building. That broadcast tower then sent the broadcast signals to the viewers' TV sets.
Which all you youngins out there, you're probably like, what? They sent the video feed via microwave? Like what?
Yeah.
Back in the day, our TVs used to have little antennas on it, little rods sticking out. Yeah, exactly. I had them on my TV growing up, and
Did
you'd have
you?
to like.
I was gonna say I would never.
You guys
What
never
the
had
hell?
that?
No, that was
No.
like my parents. We just had TVs.
Yeah.
Well, y'all were some spoiled rich folks or something, because I literally had a little TV that had a turn dial for probably the first 12 years of my life. It was a 13-inch little turn dial TV.
Damn.
Joel
Well,
put
your
a picture in of
parents
it.
hate TV, so they probably just whatever your grandparents gave you.
It
'cause
was.
Your mom like despises TV.
It was, but even then, even when you got the big CRT TVs, you still needed some sort of antenna. They just eventually did away with the bunny ears thing, and they got like a little
Well, we
turn
had a
into
small
a disc.
TV. It was small and it was wood with like big metal buttons.
Right, but your guys' TVs were like the nice generation of like when the CRT TVs first started coming out.
I see.
Mine was still that old school projector. It had like a projection in the back.
Okay.
And it had the bunny ears on it. So I remember having to we'd watch PBS and I'd have to go over there and manipulate the bunny ears to do it because the feed was coming over the air. So now everything's done through cables and fiber optic. Times have changed.
Yeah, they have. So when this came on the screen, they obviously were panicking, trying to get it off the air. So WGN's engineers had to scramble to change the signal's frequency that linked their broadcast to the tower. The news station immediately called the feds to investigate who hijacked the broadcast. So as you saw, they weren't able to do that much with that hacking. I mean, they were just the guys dancing around, playing some weird sounds, and they got it off pretty quickly. And then at 11:20 that night, the local Chicago PBS station, WTTW, had their broadcast of Doctor Who hijacked. It was the same culprit, the Max Headroom impersonator, but the footage was even more bizarre this time. Let's take a look.
But it's the only way to learn.
I'll get you a hot drink, miss.
Why, some dry clothing.
So
just the ultimate troll here.
I just made a giant masterpiece for all the greatest world newspaper nerds. My brother is wearing the other one.
He had a lot more time this go around.
Yep.
Quality entertainment. I just wish there was like a camera on the people who were watching it at the time and watching what their reaction was to seeing this. They're watching Doctor Who, and all of a sudden this guy comes on.
I
just would love to see what everybody did when this happened.
Yeah.
It'd be really funny.
It'd be scary, especially if you were home alone. I'd be so freaked out. So you really can't hear what exactly he's saying from the clip. I mean, it just sounds so warped. But he did call the WGN sports pundit, Chuck Swirsky, a frickin' liberal. And he held up a can of Pepsi and said, "Catch the wave," which is a reference to Coca-Cola's Max Headroom advertisements. Then towards the end of it, he points at the screen and says, "I still see the X," which some people misheard at the time as "I stole CBS." This impersonator also complained that he had hemorrhoids and said, "Oh, I just made a masterpiece for all of the greatest world newspaper nerds." And this was a reference to WGN's call sign, which stood for World's Greatest Newspaper. WGN was founded by the Chicago Tribune, who used that as their tagline back in the day. Then the video feed cuts to some really weird footage. The person dangled a Max Headroom mask at the camera with the dildo now in his mouth. He bent over, dropped his pants, and that's when someone starts spanking him with a fly swatter. After that, the screen faded into static, and the episode of Doctor Who resumed as if nothing happened. The interruption lasted a total of 90 seconds.
Good minute and a half.
Yeah.
The technicians at WTTW Studios desperately tried to stop the hijacking, but nothing they tried worked. Their broadcast tower was located at the top of Sears Tower, but they didn't have any engineers on duty at the tower during their broadcasts that night. So without anyone there who could fix the signal, they all watched helplessly as the broadcast got weirder and weirder. And luckily for them, the hijackers decided to stop the intrusion on their own. So that's what's interesting, is that they just ended it themselves. People were understandably pretty creeped out by these intrusions. Some confused Chicagoans called up the stations themselves and asked, what the hell was the interruption to my programming all about?
It annoyed some viewers.
No, I just thought it would be just a slight mess up, but that in the middle of the tape, it's going to be... We're going to have to tape over it.
Angered others.
Somebody wants to get attention, what do? They go break into a television broadcast. Just to get attention, like throwing a brick through your window, so to speak.
Okay.
It's not too bright, really.
Well, some thought it was a lot of fun. So what did you think about the whole thing?
Very, very funny.
It may seem rather humorous, but there is more to it than that. For when this person is caught, he or she will face both civil and criminal penalties.
Boo, let him live.
Yeah, they're like, whatever.
You wish.
Catch me if you can, bitches. It's funny that the kid was like, I thought it was funny. That one girl was all upset that her tape recording of Doctor Who was messed up. She's like, I'm going to tape over it.
So the TV station's engineers thought the signal was probably sent from someone local who was within the line of sight of the towers on top of both the Sears Tower and the John Hancock building. The culprits of the hijackings needed to have pretty extensive training and technical skills to pull this prank off. They would have had to send out a microwave transmission to the broadcast towers that was more powerful than the signals that the studios were sending in order to hijack the signal. And this would have required a huge amount of power. An engineer for WTTW said the culprit had to be a broadcast engineer, a satellite engineer, or a ham radio operator. So after all this happened, an FCC official warned that the broadcast pirates faced up to $100,000 in fines and up to 1 year in prison. Hijacking or pirating a television broadcast is considered a crime, which they haven't prosecuted a lot of those because they're pretty rare and unusual. The motive for the hijackings is pretty much unknown. It's been theorized, though, that whoever did this might have been a disgruntled ex-employee of WGN who's trying to play a prank on them. And that might explain how the culprit had technical knowledge in order to pull the stunt off. The FCC tried its best to investigate the incident, but to this day, the culprits of this very, very entertaining hijacking of the broadcast signal has never been found.
Aha.
And once 1992 came, the 5-year statute of limitations on the crime had passed. So this means that the government will basically never be able to prosecute whoever did this broadcast hijacking. So it's interesting that they think it was somebody who worked for the television station. I'm like, they probably would have been able to solve this if that were the case, because they could go and trace who worked there and figure it out, probably at least a suspect. But maybe they were never able to prove it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it could be clearly someone who didn't like the station.
Yeah.
Like I'd say like disgruntled ex-employee or something like that.
Yeah, it reminded me of Bruce Almighty.
That knows how it works.
Kind of.
When he hijacks.
Yeah. Steve Carell when he's talking. A little different.
My tiny little nipples went to France. Yeah, that's a great part.
But what a wild thing. I'm surprised this type of thing doesn't happen at all these days. Like you don't hear about.
They got it locked the fuck down.
Yeah, it's true.
Someone's going to lose their job if it happens these days.
It's very true. And it's all, I mean, everything's got security and firewalls and everything else in place now. It's not sent over the open air.
Yeah.
At least, a lot of the transmission stuff. But
I think it's funny.
It is funny. We'll have to ask her parents about it. See if they remember this.
I'm curious. The actual interruption itself. I want to just know if my parents know about Max Headroom, because I think that is such a weird thing in itself. It's almost its own phenomena. Like, why was that created?
Because of the sci-fi show that they were doing or whatever. That
I know, but still, it's so. I don't know.
It was their vision of what AI was going to look like, and
it's just trying to freak people out, kind of.
This was like one of the first AI generated images that they made, or
just so strange.
Yeah, very weird. But we're going to get into the Alaskan Bermuda Triangle next. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Today's episode of Mile Higher is brought to you by Simply Safe Home Security. Have you ever wanted to know what's happening at your home when you're not there? I'm a big fan of the new wireless outdoor camera from Simply Safe. It lets you see what's happening outside right from your phone and alerts you when anyone approaches, so you always know who's there. It also is great for watching your dogs in the backyard. Especially at my house, I have a pretty big backyard, so it's great for looking at all the different angles and all the little spots the dogs can get into. It's also great for just an animal camera. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at the cameras and have seen coyotes or seen other wildlife out there, which is pretty cool. Plus, it obviously helps you keep track of who's coming up and down your driveway, so you know what's going on at all times, no matter where you are. Simply Safe has everything you need to keep your home safe. From entry and motion sensors to indoor and outdoor cameras, Simply Safe is monitored 24/7 by professionals ready to dispatch police, firefighters, or EMTs to your home at a moment's notice. Simply Safe is less than $1 a day, and you can set it up in around 30 minutes. And there's no long-term contracts or commitments, which is one of the best things about Simply Safe. You can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/milehigher. Go today and claim a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring. Go to simplysafe.com/milehigher.
When it comes to our personal hygiene, who has time really to read that long list of ingredients on the back of the bottle? Some ingredients I can't even pronounce. So if you're like me and you care about what goes onto your body, then try Native personal care products. Every Native product is thoughtfully formulated to keep you feeling and smelling fresh all day long. If you still haven't tried Native deodorant, here's what you need to know. It's aluminum free, it offers 24-hour odor protection, it's vegan, it's cruelty free, and it's made with naturally derived ingredients, and you can choose from over 10 different scents. And this year, Native has something super sweet in store for their customers. And guys, this collaboration is awesome. It's a collaboration that was done with Tiny Cupcake Bakery, Baked by Melissa. The Native X Baked by Melissa collection is made up of 4 scents, and it's available in deodorant, body wash, shampoo, and conditioner. So you can smell delicious all over. I'm telling you guys, this collection truly smells like cupcakes, like desserts. And it's not in a way that is off-putting. I've tried some, scented products over the years of cupcakes and cake and stuff like that. And oftentimes it smells really fake, but this is straight up like you're smelling a cupcake. It's so good. So smell and feel fresh all day long with Native and get 20% off your first order by going to nativedeo.com/milehigher20 or use promo code milehigher20 at checkout. That's nativedeo.com/milehigher20 or use promo code milehigher20 at checkout. And that will give you 20% off your first order. Thank you so much, Native, for sponsoring our show.
So you probably have heard of the infamous Bermuda Triangle, which is a region in the Atlantic Ocean where airplanes and ships are rumored to have mysteriously disappeared. We've done a pretty extensive episode on that in the past. But did you know that there's a region in America that's home to a similar mysterious triangle called the Alaskan Triangle? So the top of the Alaskan Triangle sits at Utqiagvik, Alaska, which is the northernmost city in the U.S. From there, the triangle extends south and ends in the cities of Anchorage and Juneau. There's a good reason Alaska is known as the last frontier, as the climate is harsh and bitter cold. And the Alaskan Triangle is made up of dense forests, desert tundras, huge mountain peaks, thousands of glaciers, and plenty of wildlife. And since 1988, 16,000 people have gone missing in the Alaskan Triangle. That's around 4 per every 1,000 people, which is double the national average. On January 26, 1950, a U.S. military plane carrying 36 passengers and 8 crew members departed Anchorage en route to an Air Force base in Great Falls, Montana. 2 hours later, the plane made a routine radio check-in and reported it was flying over Snag, a small town on the Alaska-Yukon border. The plane never arrived in Great Falls, though. And after weeks of searching for the plane, all 44 of its passengers were presumed dead, and investigators called off the search. What's crazy is that none of the plane's remains have ever been found. And then on October 16, 1972, U.S. House Majority Leader Hale Boggs boarded a private Cessna 310 in Anchorage, Alaska, which was bound for Juneau. Boggs was accompanied by a fellow House representative, his aide, and their pilot. The flight took off into bad weather and then vanished 12 minutes later. The search for the plane began after it missed its scheduled arrival time in Juneau, and it ended up being the largest search in Alaskan history at the time. The government dedicated 40 military aircraft, 50 civilian planes, a search grid of 325,000 square miles, and more than 3,600 hours of search time in order to find Hale Boggs' plane. But after 39 days of extensive searching, the plane was nowhere to be found, and they called off the search.
The harsh climate and unforgiving terrain of the Alaskan Triangle may be one explanation for its higher than average missing person rate. But some people believe that something paranormal might have been causing these disappearances. According to native Tlingit legends, a shape-shifting cryptid known as Kushtaka may be the culprit. The Kushtaka translates to land otter man, and it's an otter-like creature that lives in the wilderness of Alaska. It prowls around the woods looking for lost or injured humans to prey on. The Kushtaka apparently use their shape-shifting abilities to disguise themselves into someone that their victim would know and trust to lure them in. Then they drag their victim deeper and deeper into the wilderness before they tear them to shreds. Or they turn their victims into Kushtaka themselves, which prevents them from ever being reincarnated. Another theory is that strong energy vortexes in the Alaskan Triangle might have something to do with the high number of disappearances there. Energy vortexes are specific spots that are said to have highly concentrated amounts of swirling energy moving through them, and some people claim these vortexes have various effects on humans.
Which we've talked about this a lot before, that there's different places across the planet where these energy vortexes are. There's one potentially down in near Crestone, Colorado. Mm-hmm. And it's, positive, negative energy. And depending on if it's positive or negative, it spins in one way or the other.
Yeah.
And if it's positive, it's affecting everything around it positively. If it's negative, then you might have issues, mm-hmm. which is what's going on in the Alaskan Triangle. So
positive energy vortexes have energy that flows upwards in a clockwise direction. And many people have reported experiencing benefits like increased energy, spiritual awakening, enhanced creativity, and healing while visiting these vortexes. On the other hand, negative vortexes are counterclockwise, downward flowing energy concentrations. Some people believe that these vortexes can cause depression, psychotic symptoms, nightmares, health problems, and hallucination. Some people have claimed that these negative vortexes cause electrical equipment to malfunction, And it's been said that the Bermuda Triangle, Japan's Devil Triangle, and the Alaska Triangle contain negative energy vortexes.
The way that I kind of like to think about it is similar to how people experience ghosts or spirits. And sometimes these ghosts or spirits are able to affect the energy in a room and therefore affect the electrical equipment, TVs, which is really weird because we have a TV in our house that continues to come on its own.
It's driving me nuts. It's
in the
scaring me.
middle of the night, just like randomly, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. And we've already replaced that TV since we've moved in, and it's the same thing, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's been happening a lot lately too.
It's kind of creepy. So it's interesting that potentially some sort of spirit or, residual energy that's left over in a location could affect the electrical equipment. So if you think about it on a mass scale and you have an area that's got a vortex, you're thinking this type of energy in a massive amount that's also moving, it would make sense that it would affect the electrical equipment of these airplanes that are flying overhead. So maybe that's what's causing them to go down. Their electrical components just go out. But some people believe that aliens are involved with these strange occurrences in the Alaskan Triangle. In 1986, a Japan Airlines pilot flying a cargo plane reported encountering 3 strange unidentified aircraft while traveling over the triangle. At first, the pilot assumed that the mysterious aircraft were just military planes carrying out routine operations, and he didn't pay them much attention. But then, these unidentified objects appeared right in front of the jet and flashed a bright light into the cockpit. The pilot noticed that the aircraft started moving at the same speed as his plane, and for the next 50 minutes, the 2 UFOs began copying all of his plane's movements before they shot off, blinding bursts of light. The pilot repeatedly asked ground control if there was any other aircraft in the area around him, and the controllers told the pilot that there weren't any planes nearby him on the radar. And at first, the pilot and his crew weren't afraid. They were just more shocked that the aircraft had flown so close to the jet. But then just as they were approaching Fairbanks, they saw a pale white light behind the plane, and it looked like it was a massive silhouette of a giant spaceship. And for the last 30 minutes of the flight, civilian and military radars were able to pick up whatever this aircraft was. Air traffic controllers in Anchorage tried to help the pilot shake the UFO's tail. The pilot even tried flying in circles and changing altitudes, but whatever this UFO was just continued to follow him. A United Airlines flight entered the nearby airspace, and air traffic control diverted that flight so the pilot could get a visual of the situation. Neither of the pilots were able to see the UFO anymore. However, a military radar picked up the spacecraft flying out of sight and trailing behind the United Airlines flight. An FAA chief named John Callahan presented these findings to his boss. Then his boss set up a briefing that included members of the CIA. The CIA officials then told Callahan to never discuss the meeting or his findings again, and they told him that they couldn't have the American public freaking out about these UFOs. And a year later, the FAA retracted their claim that they had ever even seen a UFO on their radar, and they claimed that the radar sighting was just a split radar image that popped up at a coincidental time. But I definitely don't believe that, because I've actually heard about this encounter before, and it was totally legit. There is actually documentation made on this, and they're just trying to keep it quiet now. But that's crazy. I mean, it's possible that could be part of it. But in this particular encounter, it didn't cause the plane to go down. It just seemed like these UFOs were sort of checking out the jet as it was flying through the air. So personally, I lean more towards the energy theory and the vortex theory. I think there are zones where electronics can be affected, which then can make planes disappear. And I mean, the other part of it too is these vortexes could potentially contain portals where planes, objects, people are then literally leaving this plane of existence and going into another. I mean, if you think about some of these missing, I mean, MH370, like we still don't know where that plane went.
Oh God, that one drives me nuts.
Like what? They just disappear?
That one seriously bothers me so much. The fact that we still don't know.
And there's others out there too. That's what's crazy. It's like they were flying through the sky at one point and then they just disappeared, never to be seen again. It's crazy.
It is. Have we done a full episode on 370?
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. We've covered it through multiple episodes actually, because there was stuff that kind of came out after the initial investigation. But there really hasn't been much since. I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's crazy. It's just like, imagine being the family members of the people on that plane. Like, what do you even do?
Yeah. Some of these mysteries, they just
just forever.
Can forever.
Never know.
Yeah. I just can't imagine being personally connected to it. It drives me crazy enough thinking about these things just on my own.
Yeah. Can you imagine being...
Go insane, truly.
Next, we're going to move on and talk about some very mysterious lights, both the Phoenix lights and the Hornet Spook Light. Before we get into those, we're going to take our last ad break, and we'll see you in just a minute. For many people, getting financially healthy means dropping the weight of credit card debt, but where do you start when it feels like a never-ending cycle? Upstart can help you pay off your existing debt quickly and easily with a personal loan so you can start living your life. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 1 million people have used Upstart to get one fixed monthly payment with a clear payoff date. Upstart knows you're more than just your credit score, so rather than looking at your credit score alone, Upstart's model considers other factors like your income, employment, and other information provided in your loan application to find you a smarter rate for your loan. You can check your rate without impacting your credit score in just 5 minutes for loans between $1,000 to $50,000. And you can receive funds as fast as 1 business day after accepting your loan. And I'll tell you from personal experience, this is how I paid off my credit card debt when I got out of college. I got a personal loan, consolidated all of those payments into one, and it really did help me get it paid off far quicker with far less interest. So definitely something to look into if you're interested. So find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/milehigher. That's upstart.com/milehigher. And don't forget to use our URL to let them know we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit income and certain other information provided in your loan application. Again, that's upstart.com/milehigher.
Okay, guys. So today I'm here to tell you about America's #1 meal kit, and that is HelloFresh. And let me tell you why they are so awesome. HelloFresh delivers pre-portioned ingredients right to your door, including farm fresh produce that arrives within a week, so you get convenience without skimping on the quality. You can skip the trip to the grocery store, saving you a long wait in line and assuring that you don't have to waste money on excess food. You can customize your favorite dishes with the new Hello Custom offerings by swapping out one protein or side for another and upgrading for a more luxe experience, or even adding a protein to a veggie meal. That means more choices, more variety, and more meals truly tailored for you. Best part is HelloFresh is 72% cheaper than a restaurant meal, and it's the same quality. And you can save on average $65 per month when you order HelloFresh instead of grocery shopping. That's money back in your pocket. For Josh and I, HelloFresh saves us time. That is what is most valuable to us these days, is our time, and not having to think about what we're going to have for dinner, not having to grocery shop for it is just so convenient. So go to HelloFresh.com/milehigher16 and use code milehigher16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's HelloFresh.com/milehigher16 and use code milehigher16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Thanks so much to HelloFresh for sponsoring our show.
Have you ever spent hours Googling how to care for your pet? Everything from why is my cat sneezing so much to what to do when your dog eats a stick of butter. Skip crowdsourcing recommendations from forums, social media, or trial and error and get answers immediately with Fuzzy. Fuzzy is a telehealth service for pet parents that offers 24/7 access to personalized pet care from veterinary professionals. From everyday questions to middle of the night emergencies, we've had a few of those, that's for sure. Fuzzy has the answers pet parents need through live chat and virtual vet consultations available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Fuzzy can answer your pet questions, big and small, urgent and everyday. Fuzzy can also recommend the exact right products for your pet, all of which are handpicked by their established team of veterinary professionals and available at discounts exclusive to Fuzzy members. From getting your pet's diet just right to meeting their middle of the night needs, or to finally figuring out what makes their breath smell that way. Nothing is too big or small for a quick Fuzzy call. And right now, Fuzzy is offering our listeners a free 7-day trial membership. Just go to yourfuzzy.com/milehigher today to sign up. That's a free 7-day trial at yourfuzzy.com/milehigher. And for a limited time, Fuzzy is also offering a special discount of $20 off any of your pet's product needs. Pet meds, supplements, food, and more with promo code MileHigher. That's yourfuzzy.com/milehigher for your free trial of Fuzzy with access to 24/7 personalized pet care and vet recommended products.
Okay, so next we're going to be talking about the Phoenix Lights, which I know we have mentioned on the show before or talked about briefly, but we're going to look at it a little closer today and actually play some clips that we found that are pretty interesting. So, this event happened on March 13th, 1997, between 7:30 and 10:30 p.m. A string of strange glowing orbs flew over the sky in Arizona, Nevada, and Sonora, Mexico. Thousands of people reported seeing these bright lights, and some were able to record videos of the event. There were two different groups of lights that people reported seeing. The first group was organized in a triangular formation, and it flew over the state of Arizona. The second group of 9 lights sat in a stationary position in the sky over Phoenix. Some people reported that the first group of lights was attached to a triangular or V-shaped object, and one witness said that the object was as big as a Boeing 747 and made a loud noise that sounded like rushing wind. So here we have an eyewitness discussing what they saw.
People were seeing these lights that either seemed to be attached to something or had a force field in between, because when they looked up, they blocked out the stars in between the lights. Going through my mind, I was thinking, who are you? What are you? Do you know that I'm here? I'd love to meet you. I got it on 35 millimeter film. This is in the negative. It cannot be denied or, to date, 22 years later, be explained. We're talking totally silent at rooftop level. People watched these phenomena just glide right over their heads.
So there's not really any photo or video of the first group of lights. It's really the second that we have captured. But most people who don't believe the lights were alien spacecraft believe they came from a plane instead.
The U.S. Air Force said the second group of lights were just flares being dropped by an attack bomber as part of a training exercise. They claim that the flares were slow falling and long burning, and that the parachutes on the flares gave them an orb-like appearance. The flares would have hung in the sky for a decent amount of time after the planes dropped them, and later testing showed that Phoenix residents would have easily been able to see these types of flares. Although if you look at flare footage, I mean, I don't know, these definitely don't look like flares to me, but that's just me. 10 years after the incident, a National Guard air pilot told a reporter that he was part of the squadron that dropped the flares that appeared over Phoenix. So here's some more footage just of the lights from some different angles. It's not the best quality, unfortunately, and there's no sound on this clip, but it does give you a little bit more perspective on the lights from different points of view. Mm-hmm. They definitely look like orbs just glowing in the sky. And like usually the flares that I've seen, I mean, I don't know, there might be different types of flares, have some sort of tail coming off of it, like a subtle tail coming off of it. But these just look like, I don't know.
And they do look like they're attached to something, like there's something in between them.
Yeah, because they stay in this nice formation. Mm-hmm. And then they come in, come out, and they stay in that sort of V-U shape as they fly over Phoenix.
And it's huge too.
Just the
span of it.
Huge. Yeah. And everybody saw this. I mean, this was a mass UFO sighting. I'm just like, if it was a military, why not give people a heads up so then people aren't just wondering what you're doing? Like, if you're going to do a secret training exercise, why do it over the freaking whole city? Like, I don't get that explanation that they offer up. It's like, oh, we're doing a training exercise. We didn't want to give you guys a heads up because we wanted to see you all think that it was a UFO.
Just like that one back in LA. I think it was 2017.
Yeah, that giant blue thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they said that was
over LA.
Yeah, no way they're doing that. That makes absolutely no sense.
Well, they did end up figuring out what that one was, actually.
Yeah, but why were they not?
Right. Why not give people a heads up? Yeah.
But it was testing?
Yes, it was a legit thing.
Yeah, so why wouldn't they
give people I know, it doesn't make any sense.
But they didn't confirm that until later on. Like, why not be like, no, that's what it was right away? Because that went on and on for weeks of people trying to figure out what it was. It scared so many citizens. And it's just a really weird place to do that. So, I mean, personally, I don't believe that explanation.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
But maybe I'm wrong. And a lot of people do not buy the explanations given for the Phoenix Lights either. They firmly believe that the lights that they saw that night came from something otherworldly.
So we're about to watch a little clip from the woman we just saw, who is the doctor that has worked on this event as far as researching it pretty extensively, and just some of her thoughts about the fact that she thinks this was extraterrestrial in origin.
You've done a lot of talking about this, and you've met a lot of people who saw it. And what is the consensus among people who actually looked and saw it? What do most people say?
Actually, there has not been one report, and this is important, of harm, threat, or abduction associated with the Phoenix Lights phenomena. They were absolutely anomalous. Even our past former governor, Symington, who mocked the sighting in 97, came forward after the 10th anniversary to reveal bravely that he actually saw one of these mile-wide craft and larger, and that it was otherworldly. And he's a pilot, an award-winning Air Force officer, and many, many people saw this. It was massive, and the technology was far advanced.
I definitely don't believe any of the, government claims that it's testing.
No,
I don't believe it for LA
one.
either.
Yeah.
I just don't. Doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, and also later on, when that whole New York Times article came out and UFOs really hit the mainstream, that the Pentagon was studying UFO sightings and stuff, this was one of the events that they were actually studying. So that also proves that this wasn't just some government exercise, because why would they be studying this event?
And if that's true, why not show us again? Like, let's see it again then. Let's schedule it on a certain night. Be like, everyone, we're going to do this testing on Thursday night, 6:00. Go outside and look at it. Yeah, prove it.
Prove it was a government exercise and repeat the exact same thing again.
And same with the LA UFO, because I do not believe for a second that was. I just do not. That makes no sense. Why?
I mean, it was pretty cool to look at.
It was really cool.
But let's watch this clip of the governor who, at the time when it happened, literally denounced it, but probably from pressure from within the government.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, he's come out and done interviews on what he saw.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious now. That it was unquestionably it was a UFO, which means unidentified flying object.
Right. Doesn't mean we're being visited.
Well, it's nothing like anything I've ever seen.
And you're an Air Force guy.
Yeah, and a pilot. Got a lot of hours flying, so it was pretty breathtaking. And I'll never forget. I snuck out to see it, without DPS, which I'm not supposed to be driving my own car and that kind of thing. And so, but I told Ann what I was doing. I was going to go up to Squaw Peak and see what everybody was, clamoring about. And when I walked in the front door, she looked at me, and I was apparently normally I'm fair complected and pale anyway, right? And she said, "Oh my gosh," she said, "she looked like a ghost. What did you see?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what I saw, but it was really something, and I'm not going to talk about it." And
wow. So did it frighten you?
No, I think I was kind of in awe, really,
How big?
Bigger than anything I've ever seen in the sky.
Like an aircraft carrier in the sky?
Yeah. Something like that, yeah. And it was hard to define because of the light in terms of the size, but it was absolutely silent and had sort of eerie embedded lights, and, so that's what I saw. And I wasn't expecting to see anything because I was looking out over at Luke to the west. And then all of a sudden, these people in the park area just on the west side of 51, there were a bunch of people there. Everybody said, "Oh, look at that!" And we turned around, and this thing was coming from the northwest, traveling to the southeast.
We now know, and it really hit me when we were watching the Diamondbacks in Game 7, and the B-1 flew over.
Mm-hmm.
Over.
It wasn't a B-1 bomber.
But that thing all of a sudden out of nowhere appears. And I said to somebody that night, I said, well, when they do test these, they test them in populated areas. They're new stuff. They test it to see if people detect it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe it was ours? Do you believe it was something from the U.S. government that they were kind of flying around?
No, it wasn't even close to a B-1. It was much bigger than a B-1. A B-1 actually isn't that big. I mean,
right.
I mean, if it's at low altitude, it'll appear big, but no, this was totally different.
Yeah, I mean, this thing was like over a mile long. I mean, a B-1 bomber, just for reference, is 137 feet across. So that's nothing compared to how big this was.
Nope.
It almost looks like it was so wide, it's almost blank. If it were wing to wing or whatever it was, it would completely cover the whole metropolitan Phoenix area. It's like crazy.
Massive. It's unreal. It's crazy we just still don't have an answer to this day.
Yeah.
Probably never will.
Because we can't explain what it is.
It can't be disproven.
I mean, we have lots of evidence of it. There were some more lights that appeared in 2007 and 2008, but these were definitely military flares. It's interesting that they tried to like do it again and just to like get everybody to think that it was military flares.
But that actually looks like military.
Yeah, I mean, flares come down.
You can see the smoke.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't see smoke in the first one.
No, and they're way smaller than these are gigantic orbs that are in some sort of energy field where they're moving as one almost.
They look completely different.
Yeah. The Phoenix Lights is one of those that really made me a believer.
Yeah.
In UFOs and just in general. And I think we talk about Dr. Greer a lot. He was in Phoenix at the time. I believe he saw them firsthand as well. So if we ever get him on the show, maybe we can ask him about that because
Dr. Greer, come on.
I know that'd be awesome.
We're working on it.
We are working on it. So very interesting.
We've been saying that for a long time.
We're working on a lot of things. Okay.
But we finally have the set, so we can actually put out a formal invite now.
We can. But we got one more for you today, and it's another very mysterious light known as the Hornet Spook Light. If you drive westward from the small town of Hornet, Missouri, past the Oklahoma border, you might come across a dirt road known by locals as Spooklight Road. It might not look like anything more than a simple dirt road at first, but if you sit very quietly and wait there, you might see something strange off in the distance. There's a glowing light that appears above the road, and its origins have been the stuff of local legend. But we've got video footage of it, of course. So here's a clip of the spook light from, I think, a pretty far distance.
Whoa! They really flared up there. He knows we're here. Showing off.
Yeah, look at that. It's the same type of orb situation. And then that's
we
a
need to
cell
tell
tower.
people the red light they see is a tower.
Yeah, the red light you see is a reception tower way in the distance.
Yes.
The little gold light that's in the center with all the little weird sparkling stuff going on around it, that's a spook light.
Spook light. It has.
Yeah, it's fluctuating and it's changing color and it's kind of moving around and it's got all kinds of stuff going on around it. Wow, that's trippy. That's really trippy.
What?
That's so weird.
And they just caught that casually on camera. I mean, that doesn't look edited or doctored. I mean, it just looks like somebody was filming.
Yeah, it's very casual the way they're going about it.
Yeah. The Hornet Spook Light usually is seen at night. It most often appears as a single ball of light or sort of a tight group of lights like you just saw, but its color sometimes changes as well. The spook light is usually greenish yellow, but it's been observed to glow red, orange, other shades of yellow, and sometimes even blue. And it ranges from a baseball to a basketball in size. How interesting is that?
When you're not looking through this, sometimes you got to strain to see it.
Yeah.
But yet on here, you can still...
Okay, it's got two lights again. Wait a minute. One little one. Wait, maybe three. Hang on. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, now it's got one ahead of it. Now it's getting really, really bright. Real bright. Now it's got one ahead of it, way ahead of it. Might be coming up the road. Hang on now.
I see three lights.
Yeah, there was one behind the bigger light. There's multiple lights there right now.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm seeing... Oh, I can't tell. I'm not sure. Okay. There was one little light that went into the bigger light to the left.
Those look a little bit different than the first clip, but I think it's also because their camera is a little bit lesser quality.
Yeah.
Another popular example of a ghost light is the will-o-wisp phenomenon, which produces glowing lights over swamps and bogs.
Cultures from all over the world have folklore legends about ghost lights. The lights are often believed to be spirits, angels, or different otherworldly beings. The first documented account of the Hornet Spook Light was printed in a local newspaper in 1935, although some sources say it was a paper article from 1881.
Which, their headlights weren't that strong back then.
Yeah, that's true. You can't really predict.
Yeah, or no headlights at that time, so they're seeing a spook light.
And what the hell is it? But that's not confirmed. You know, it's just some sources saying that. We don't know for sure that it was in 1881.
Well, the paper article, but it was printed in the local newspaper in 1935.
Yeah, well,
and
it's like 50.
It's not like they had
years of difference.
Huge, true, but it's not like they had ultra high beams at that time.
No, I don't know. That one's weird. However, local residents have given verbal accounts of seeing the lights, the spook light, as far back as 1830. In 1946, engineers with the U.S. Army studied the light to try and find its source. They believe that the light was caused by headlights from nearby cars, but I mean, that doesn't make sense when you think about how old some of these recounts are. But they told a local newspaper that they wouldn't insist upon the solution, and we certainly don't want to rob anyone of the enjoyment of a good ghost.
There you go. That's the military I like to see.
Yeah.
Believe
yeah,
in
where's
ghosts.
that attitude now?
Seriously. Now, like, what? Doesn't exist.
In the mid-50s, locals promoted the spook light as a tourist attraction. One resident even created a museum for the mysterious glowing light. And in the 60s and 70s, Spooklight Road was always packed with tourists hoping to catch a glimpse of the light. People came from all over the place just to see the light for themselves. The light would flicker, move around, disappear, and then reappear in different locations. And the glowing orb made the hair on the back of people's necks stand up. I don't understand why they didn't try to get closer to it. They're standing so far back. Walk towards it. At some point, you're going to find it, right?
True.
Just looks kind of weird.
But wouldn't that scare you? Would you be scared to walk towards an unknown light? And if it is cars, you're walking into onward traffic. So just
I might be scared of it, but there's got to be people out there that wouldn't be. I mean,
you want to walk towards the light, is what you're saying?
No, I'm saying I probably wouldn't, but there's probably people that would. Oh, haha. Good joke.
Tough crowd.
Thank you. Tough crowd here. Tough crowd. Kendall's a tough critic, folks.
Oh, well, anyway, there are many local legends about what the spook light is. Some people believe that the light is a ghost of a Confederate soldier or the devil holding a lantern and wandering the earth.
Ooh, I hope it's that one.
Why would the devil just be in one spot, though?
He's just walking around.
And why?
This lantern.
Why? The most popular folktale is that the light is the souls of two Native American lovers trying to find each other. I like that one.
Oh, boy.
That's beautiful.
That is very beautiful.
Very beautiful.
Maybe it is. The most popular scientific explanation for the spook light is that it's caused by the headlights refracting from nearby Route 66. But it's like, when you hear...
In the 1830s, there was no headlights.
Thanks for that.
So what you talking about?
This might explain why the light was a sort of yellow or reddish color.
Sorry, I don't buy that at all. That's a very
weird.
Half scientific explanation. That's more like, well, the logical thing is it's probably a headlight. You know, they're turning on their high beams and it creates this little glow. No, these are orbs. Like, these are freaking orbs. It's not headlights. Go outside at night and look at headlights coming down the road. Does that look like an orb floating in the air? No. Don't, like, even going over a hill, like the whole, it's going over the hill, so the light,
why in that
it doesn't
specific
like
spot?
gather and then make this sort of like glowing where it's moving and it's turning red and blue and and then you have multiple, like, what your headlights are refracting into. What is it refracting off of? Too, the tree? No, it makes no sense at all.
Well, you know, according to some of these sources, the first recorded mention of the light was in 1935. So cars would have been around that time.
I'm gonna look
but
up.
If you believe that there were sightings in the 1800s, as early as 1830, but
give me a freaking break. Look up a 1935 car.
Yeah, how is it reflecting that far out?
Car. Let's see if we can get at night.
I mean, headlights were invented in 1880. It said.
Okay.
So right around that time of the first one, unless you believe that.
I think it was seen in all the way back in the 1830s, and there's definitely no car.
But why do you think that? Just some sources say that, so you're just believing it. Josh believes everything.
Because a wise man once told me to believe everything you hear. I'm just kidding.
It's a dumbass.
But look
at
seriously.
But look at the 1935's picture of the car. I don't think that it was a car.
I'm just going off of that video that we did see. I mean, assuming that that isn't hoaxed or fake or whatever, it doesn't look like a headlight to me, whatever that is. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck that is, to be honest. It's weird.
Well, another explanation is that electromagnetic fields might be affecting natural gases in the area, which produces the light, which kind of could make some sense. But
in the same spot all that time?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know about that. Many people believe that the light is some sort of paranormal entity or occurrence, which is kind of the way I lean. They believe that the car headlights explanation doesn't match up with the light's history. And again, there have been apparently many sightings all throughout the 1800s, long before cars or headlights existed. According to spooklight enthusiasts, the light is getting harder to see today. They say that if cars were the cause, that the light should be getting more and more visible as the decades pass. Because again, headlights get more and more. I mean, a lot of cars have like 4, like my truck has like 5 lights on the front of it. So obviously the light would change and it would be different than all these clips sort of show the same sort of orbs that are being captured. Locals used to advertise the spook light to attract tourists to the area. But as the years went on, officials from the area tried to discourage visitors from loitering around Spooklight Road. Apparently, the road became a popular spot for teenagers to party at the Spooklight. I would do that too. That'd be fun. There was near where I grew up, there was a haunted bridge on a dirt road. It's called like Last Bridge. Mm-hmm. And we used to go out there and just like, not really, I mean, party. But
yeah, what were you doing?
More like kind of like ghost hunt and like look around. Or at least I was. Everybody else was probably partying and I was like trying to see if I could feel the ghosts that were there. But there's been a lot of events that happen at this bridge. But anyways, Spooklight Road, big party spot. They eventually paved Spooklight Road, and it's illegal to sit and park along this route now. And now that the road is
kind of unusual. Illegal. That's like a bit far.
Yeah.
But maybe it was could be dangerous too. Yeah. Could have caused all types of issues. So.
Yeah. Well, gravel roads people are drinking and stuff. Not a good idea.
I want to know from people in this area once again. Have you heard of the Spooklight? Have you seen the Spooklight? Do you know any more Spooklight stories?
It's still visible. It's still out there.
I kind of want to go see it for myself. It's hard to see on these little video clips.
Well, here's a more recent clip. We'll play. This is the last clip that we have, but this is a more recent.
I was going to say there's got to be
2018.
some better footage of these things. God.
The Spooklight. It's coming this way.
Look how dark it is. It's not a lot of traffic out here.
Lantern coming.
Yeah,
we're in the tri-state line, Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. And that is the Hornet Spook Light. It's my birthday. Happy birthday to me. Tracy, are you seeing this?
Tracy?
I'm sorry, but it looks the exact same what's going on.
Oh yeah, they're going nuts. And it's giving us a show.
What?
This is our second time.
Second time tonight.
Just sitting there.
Yeah.
Zoom in, please.
Oh, and the dogs are just whooping it up like they're. Oh. And in a minute, it'll just disappear.
Just smoking a cig or something or a joint. Boom.
See,
gone.
There's no way that's car headlights.
And that would happen more often, like every night, at least once a night. That would happen. No, I don't believe it's cars. That's weird. I don't know. Maybe it really is something.
I think it's something.
I believe
paranormal.
in orbs and stuff. So
yeah, I think it could
sense.
be just sort of some sort of manifestation of either a collection of spirits.
I like the idea of the Native American lovers connecting through the spook light.
Yeah, maybe. It reminds me of the Marfa lights in Texas. It's kind of a very similar phenomenon. There's other places. Janelle, look up Marfa lights, Texas. But it's basically the exact same thing, and we've covered it on the show before. The explanation for that too was headlights coming over the hill or the road, causing them. But it's a similar situation where there's this one spot. It's like for years and years and years.
Right, up in the mountain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Orbs in these areas, which maybe these areas have, energy vortex, portal. I mean, who knows? Interesting. And they're always like out in the middle of nowhere where there's not high volumes of traffic. And think about traffic lights. It'd be constantly changing.
Yeah.
These are like hovering orbs.
I feel like it'd be easy to tell if it was traffic lights.
Yes.
But like, what the fuck else is it? I don't know. It's weird. Okay. Well, we want to hear your thoughts on the spook light and everything else that we talked about in this episode. What are your theories? Especially if you live in these areas, if you live in Washington, Missouri, Phoenix, Arizona.
If you live near the spook light, go out there and film it for us.
Yeah, seriously. We need our fans to start getting on the ground and going and seeing these things And then we should have a forum where people can upload footage.
You can on our forum, I'm pretty sure. Oh, make sure you can add it. Yeah, they could attach a clip or a picture.
Oh.
I know my Lights Out forum has
Or just tweet it to us.
That's true. You can tweet it to us.
Yes, Smile Higher Pod.
Except for we are not responsible for you getting abducted by aliens or something.
Yeah, please be careful in your adventuring.
If you do, make sure you got your camera on during the abduction. I'd love to see a filmed abduction.
Oh my God, Josh.
Somebody please do that for us.
No, please don't. Please don't.
If I wasn't having a child and I wasn't married, I'd be out there myself
God, Josh,
doing this.
we all know you would be if it wasn't for me. I ruined all your fun.
You did.
Oh, boo. In another life for you. But that is going to be it for us today, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know which story was or which phenomena is most interesting to you out of all of these.
I like the spook light and the Phoenix lights.
I like the weird fucking dude on TV.
You like the Max Headroom imposter?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some wild shit.
I want to know who it was. But I think it was just an ex-employee who was pissed.
Maybe not.
This is just trolling, you know? Get a good troll.
That was a good troll.
Pretty funny. All right, that's going to be it for us today.
We'll see you next week on another episode of the Mile High Podcast. Make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube, Spotify. Make sure you're following us there. Spotify has really become the podcast platform. So if you are not following us on Spotify, we'd love it if you go over there and do so.
Yep.
Because you can watch the video over there now, which is really cool.
It's really nice.
So YouTube's kind of becoming obsolete for podcasts, really.
For viewing,
For viewing, exactly.
Well, I guess for everything.
For everything. So make sure you're following us over there, but we will see you guys next week. And until then,
keep on taking your mind a mile higher.
We'll see you guys next time.